I've got a lot more rights. Now, a lot more government support behind me. So keeping people in their house for a long period of time or longer, as long as possible, is a great thing. Okay, loan modifications. What kind of loan modifications are there? There's the home affordable modification. There's all kinds of programs. And I want to mention, if you know somebody, we talk about foreclosures. If somebody's struggling and they haven't missed any payments, it doesn't matter what their credit is. They might have missed all of their credit card payments, but they've been paying that mortgage. There's a new program that came out November 1st of last year. It's called HARP 2, Home Affordable Refinance Program 2. These people can actually get the balance of their loan reduced. Now we get the 200, the 100 $1,000 example here. They won't bring it down to the 100,000, but they will bring it down to 125,000. That's for people that are not behind you. So there are things that people are thinking they're struggling along. There are things that can be done, and that's key. Okay, each of the servicers that holds over $40 million in loans can actually develop their own workout programs. So this is why it's real interesting to hear Bank of America come after me for the HAMP modification. I've turned them down for the fourth time in the last month. And the HAMP program, the guidelines are a 5-step process. And they basically go, oh, we'll sort of like pre-qualify you on the phone, and then we're going to jump to step 4. Well, what's step 4, everybody? Make payments, send us money. I'm like, no. What happened with 2 and 3? And they say, oh, no, we don't have to tell you. I said, yes, you do. And I've confirmed this with the AG's office, and the lady at the AG's office says, congratulations, you're the only person that I know that actually turned the bank down for a modification, and you did it just like you're supposed to. So that's home affordable modification. The servicers have many different kinds. So what kind of workout can you get? You get a forbearance. Let's see, you've missed 6 payments at $1,000, that's $6,000 with penalties and back and interest on top of that and extra fees and reimbursing them for any trustees' costs or anything like that. They'll pick that $6,000 up and they'll move it to the back of your loan. So not only are you going to be way out here, you're going to have an extra $6,000 on top of that you're going to have to pay when you go to sell your house. And most people don't realize that. So forbearance, I think a forbearance is a lousy option. But it has its place if you're wanting to finish out 1 year in school, or you've got kids in school and you want to make them, have them stay for a year. Maybe you want to take the forbearance and just get on, and then know next year you're going to be in the same boat. So figure it out.
It's essentially a lien.
It's essentially a lien that you're not working off. It's held over there.
Off, just hanging out there, and when you try to sell it, there it is.
There it is. It's held out there. They're not accumulating any extra interest on it. So if you're 6% on your loan, they've moved that out to here. It's going to take the 6% or the interest that it had prior to and move out here with it. But it's not going to be adding more interest to it. That'll sit out there like a free loan. Yeah, and they'll pick it up when you sell your house. Interest rate reduction, we're seeing a lot of those. You have a high rate, 6-7%. It's possible to get down 3-4%. We're probably seeing 4, low 4s right now, moving people down. And they have the ability to take you all the way down to 2%. And it's based on ratios, how much you earn to how much you're paying every month. Amortization term extension. If your loan went out this long, 30 years, well, now they're going to say, nah, for you, special deal, 40. Now you're going to pay on your house for 40 years. And you can see the slope of the line way back here is almost minimal. So you're picking up absolutely no benefit from that because the slope doesn't change until you get way out here when you're getting to the last couple of years of your loan. So we are just ruining the country by doing these things. Or they can do some kind of interest rate and amortization combination for you. The Holy Grail is principal reduction. You know what? owe you this much money. My house was worth this much. You know what? Bring it down close to here. That's principal reduction. Now this is all I owe. So now, if I go out 2 or 3 years and go to sell my house, you know what? Okay, you know, real estate commission, I might have to pay some of that out of my pocket if I use a realtor, but I'm real close. I'm close. So that's a principal reduction, and that is the holy grail. And I'll be honest with you, that's what I'm holding out for. And I'm working my tail to stay in my house one more day to see if there's any principal reductions out there. And I was doing a project with Fannie Mae for the Realtor Association when I got behind in my payments. And all the attorneys, though, I was working with at Fannie Mae were like, come on, man, make some payments. You're making us look bad. I don't care. Okay, trial period plan. This is where they do the number 4 thing to you and say make payments. You know, your payment was $1,000. You know, just pay us $500 a month. The problem with making $500 a month payments is it's not the payment under the terms of your note. So now they're going to be dinging your credit, even though you're making payments. They're dinging your credit every month and saying you're late, you're late, you're late, and they're not crediting that to your note or your mortgage because it's not sufficient. They hold it in a special, and I can't remember the name of the account, but it's a special account that just sits over there on the side, and it's not even getting applied to your note or your mortgage. So they work both ways to get you. All right, there's a new thing that came out probably a couple months ago. It's deed surrender and rent back. The servicer will come to you and say, hey, you know, we don't want to put you in foreclosure. Why don't you just sign the house over to us and we'll rent it back to you? Like, sorry, that's voluntary foreclosure. So that's a problem for me. Deed in lieu is where you basically negotiate with the bank and they agree, we're just going to take the keys from you and you can walk. Not to be confused with jingle mail is no negotiations with the bank. You just put the keys in an envelope and you send them to the bank. You're still going to get foreclosed on it if you do that. You know, some people used to think you can just send the keys in and they won't foreclose. They have to foreclose because they need to get the title into their name. Not that that's where it belongs, but that's a whole other story. Whole other story. All right. So we talked a little bit about the history from 1971 to here. Well, what's been going on since 1971? And this is where we suffer. Since 1971, and those laws were put in place, the Banking Association and the Trustees Association have been chipping away at those laws, and they've been chipping away at your protections. Well, who's been watching them? None of us. And why is that? Foreclosure is for the other guy. Nobody worried about foreclosure, so they were chipping away at these laws. And as it stands now, you almost have no rights. It's very, very, very difficult to fight under the statutes that we have here. LaShawna's been to court a few times, and in her pleadings, the judge wrote that the Arizona statutes on foreclosure protection are draconian. So I'm still waiting to see that from LaShawna, but draconian.
Have a recording.
There you go. Got it. Okay. So the system was really designed for foreclosures. All right. So what's the timeline? I kind of want to show you this because this is where I really make a few dollars. I don't make much money these days, but what I do for people is I review this part for them, and I will exploit all the problems and put them into a letter that's usually about 11 pages long. I got to tell you, you think it came from an attorney because it's me. But I'm going to start off with the zero date. The zero date is notice of trustee sale. And this is the day they record the notice of trustee sale. Well, on the timeline here, there's things that need to happen. And there's a couple of things that need to happen 30 days prior to that. And my experience is these things just aren't happening the way they're supposed to. And this is why it's very important for people to archive their documents, because these things are a problem. And one of them is a default notice, a notice of default. and one is an alternatives to foreclosures notice. And the names are here. And these two have to come in 30 days prior to. 30 days. Now, I find that a lot of times those are problematic. I can almost pretty much write a blanket letter and say those didn't happen, they didn't happen properly. These things need to be, notice of default needs to be signed by a certain party. Usually it's not. Sometimes it's just a stamp or something like that. Okay, then you get to the notice of trustee sale. Now here's another very, very important time frame, and that's 5 days. Within 5 business days, not that you need to know these things down cold, but I just want you to see the change. They have mailing requirements, and they're supposed to send you a copy of the notice of trustee sale in 5 days. And they're supposed to send you a statement of breach. And those are both supposed to come mailed together within 5 business days. Now, key word there is copy. I have hammered on Bank of America about the word copy. And they're still sending out blank documents. It blows me away. I cannot believe it. What's that? Yeah, that's all they are. They're sending out blank documents in these envelopes. And this is where you're going to see the certified mail. You're going to see that rack of mail. And I tell people, pick it up. Don't blow it off. Don't be afraid of it, because I find there's more violations in that packet of mail than there are anywhere else in this process. And it's valuable information. Those errors are very valuable. Okay, they have advertising requirements sometime before they sell your house. The earliest they can sell your house after a notice of trustee sale is 91 days after it's recorded. Now those are calendar days, not business days. It's interesting how they move these things back and forth. Okay, but 20 days before that, there has to be a posting on your house. There you go. And a posting is basically another copy of the notice of trustee sale needs to be taped prominently to your house. Now, if you're in a gated community, they can put it outside on the front gate so everybody can see it. But they have to do that, 20 days. So these are mechanics that they have to do. Okay, and then if they do all this right, which I have reviewed at least 250 sets of documents, I haven't seen it done right once. Not once. And I got real validated recently. The City and County of San Francisco did a review on this exact thing based on their recorded documents, and they found like 81% of them had problems. So I find problems in all of them. So that's what we're up to. That's what the timeline looks like. And usually the problem is we're not going to find people until they're here somewhere. And then they think they're going to learn all that needs to be learned and fight on their own. That's the problem we're having. Yeah.
So how do all the problems that have been found benefit any of the homeowners?
Okay. Talked about that a little bit here, but what I do is I write, there's a couple of ways to fight. And the first element of fighting is intimidation. And that's what I do in my letter. I just intimidate. I just dump over the statutes, and I dump the case law, and I dump the contractual violations onto the servicer and say, what are you thinking? The statutes of the Arizona Supreme Court has said you need to cancel that and start over. You can start over again, but it says you have to cancel. And I've been writing letters, and lately I've been getting a lot of postponements. Now they'll postpone this date out, but they still haven't canceled it, and they haven't fixed the problems. So we had one, I wrote a letter about 3 weeks ago. We sent them the letter, they got the letter, they immediately canceled the sale and refiled it the next day. It's got all the same problems, they didn't fix anything. They've done all the same thing. So it's real interesting. So that's the